Bueno, señoras y señores, bienvenidos a mi canal. Es un gran honor tenerlos de vuelta. Hoy está con nosotros uno de los bateristas más importantes de la historia de la música. Él ha grabado con Michael Jackson, con Eric Clapton, con Tom Petty. También ha grabado con George Harrison. Trabajó con varios sesionistas. Uno de ellos es Metheny, que ya lo entrevistamos en mi canal. Así que, bueno, I would like to introduce to you one of the greatest drummers in the history of music, the one and only Steve Ferrone. Welcome.
That's very nice of you to say. Thank you very much.
It's a tremendous honor for me to have you here. The first question that I have is, let's talk about your beginnings. When and why you decide to play the drums?
Well, I was a tap dancer. My parents had me tap dance from about the age of 3, and when I was 12, I auditioned for a show. You had to be 12 years old to go on the stage, okay, and to actually perform. And I auditioned for a children's chorus in a summer show, a local summer show in Brighton, with an artist, a very famous English artist, a guy named Max Bygraves. And during this chorus, we'd have to go out and there was a thing called the twist, and we'd all do the twist, and he would sing a twist song. And I looked down in the orchestra pit and I saw the drummer, how he's made. I thought, I don't know how he's doing that. So I went upstairs and I tried to do it, and I get to get my motor skills. So I got that together. You know, downstairs on the stage, and I'm doing the twist, and I'm looking, how's he using his feet? Okay. So I learned how to do that, practice that, and then I heard take 5.
Oh. Yeah.
So I learned how to do that. That was the next one, and then one Saturday morning, I used to go to a dance hall and go dance with the local girls. You know, 12 years old. We get dropped off there, and the parents would go shopping, and then they come pick us up about noon. You know.
Awesome.
And Manfred Mann's Earth Band were going to play in the ballroom that night, and they did a sound check and played for us little kids. And every little girl in the place went completely crazy about it. They're all screaming and going. And I said to my friends, we need to be in a band, because this is that's much better than what we were getting dancing with these girls. You know,
awesome.
We wanted the adoration, so we started a band. Excellent. And that was how it all got started.
Excellent. Awesome. How do you met Eric Clapton? How was your experience playing with him? And which is one of your best memories with him?
Well, you know, how can it be? How bad can it be playing with Eric Clapton? A wonderful musician, a wonderful person. You know, he put together a fantastic band, and we traveled all over the world. Lots of great experiences playing. We did 24 nights at the Royal Albert Hall. That was an accomplishment. It was something that we worked our way up to over the years that we played together. That was the apex of that. You know, we started off, I think, with doing 3 days at the Royal Albert Hall, and then we went back and did a week, and then it just got more and more, and finally we ended up doing 24 nights straight there, and it was a wonderful experience.
Actually, that's how I met your playing. The first time that I saw you was on that concert of the 24 nights.
Okay.
I saw it on a video back in 1994. Right. And I was 14 years old, so I will never forget the way you play the Cream songs and Sunshine of Your Love, and
Well, you know, that band was a fantastic band. It was a wonderful band to play with. I've been I've been really blessed over the years with the bands that I played with. You know, there's been a few bands that were outstanding. Every night I walked on stage, I felt that I was walking on stage with the best band in the world. Average White Band, Eric Clapton's band, definitely Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers fit in there. You know, am I forgetting anyone? Let me see.
George Harrison, Duran Duran,
Duran Duran. Yeah, they you know. I think the thing about Duran Duran was that at a certain point, people really didn't take Duran Duran. Musicians really didn't take them that seriously because they were sort of upstart kids that had come straight out of school and all of a sudden become the most valuable, popular band in the world.
Yeah.
They made some records that were decent, but nobody really thought that they were anything that was going to last other than a flash in the pan, a fad. And then they broke up, and they splintered and went into different bands, and then I got a call. Actually, my drum tech, a guy named Artie Smith, had been working somewhere, and John Taylor was there, and he sort of mentioned that they wanted to get Duran Duran back together. And he said, I've been working with Steve Ferrone, you know, because he said that Roger Taylor had retired and become a farmer or something, and he said, Steve Ferrone, it would be great. And I got my phone rang, and it was John Taylor. He said, I got your number from Artie Smith, and we're thinking of putting Duran back together. Would you like to come and work with us a bit? You know, so that's how that started. You know. And I'm really happy to say that they matured and they stayed together. They weren't just a flash in the pan fad band. They actually today they're still relevant today because they still make new music and new albums and go and perform together. And it's a wonderful thing to see that they stayed together as young lads, you know. Who were you a lot younger? I was 30. I was 35 years old. I was the oldest guy in the band back then. You know, you know. So I used to joke I was the world's oldest teen idol. I have to say, Phil Collins has always been an inspirational person. Inspirational personality. Apart from being a great drummer, and singer and songwriter, you know, when back in the day when Lynn drum machines came out and a lot of drummers were running scared that people were going to start using drum machines and not using drummers anymore. Phil Collins came out with Easy Lover, and that. Just when I said that, and I said, he doesn't even care about it. He doesn't care. He's going to do what he's going to do. And you know what? I'm going to do the same thing. And I just did that too. And so as a human being, he's always been inspirational. And today, in dealing with the illness that he has and being able to still drag himself out on stage and sit there on a stool and sing, and let his son play the drums, he still is an inspiration. So I just got to say that if Phil ever gets to see this, I love you, Phil. You're still an inspiration. You're a man. Love you.
Of course. I hope he watches because those are very kind words. And Phil,
you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Somebody will call out and say, "Hey, Phil, Steve Ferrone saying shit about you on some show in Argentina."
Let's talk about your influences and what are your thoughts about Jack DeJohnette?
The best man, Jack DeJohnette. Okay. So let's say you asked about influences. When I started playing, it was Charlie Watson and Ringo Starr.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was Jet Harris and Tony. There were Tony Meehan was the drummer with the Shadows, a band called the Shadows in England. And so that was then it was Eric Delaney was the guy that was around. He was a showboat drummer guy that would have like 20 timpani pushed on the stage, and he would just be boom, 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 and then somebody would send him, and he'd stop it with his foot, and then he'd play. Ended up with like 20 timpani all around him, just like flailing away. But as far as so I'd say playing wise was definitely Ringo and Charlie Watts were the first people that I looked at that were playing in bands that I wanted to be like them. I wanted to play in a band, and then I started playing in a band locally, and we went to Europe, went to France, and started to play on the American bases that they had there, military bases that they used to have in France. And I was in a canteen one day, and this lanky GI came over and put some money in the jukebox, and I heard this song called "What Is Soul" by Benny King. And it has a drum introduction, and it was unlike anything that I'd ever heard before, and it was Bernard Purdie.
Wow! Okay.
So Bernard Purdie was an enormous inspiration to me. And then I heard James Brown, all the Clyde Stubblefield and Jabbo Sax. That kind of rhythm, infectious rhythm that they played was unbelievable to me. And then oh God, what's his name? Al Jackson.
Yeah.
With Booker T and the MGs. What a pocket, what a feel that man had.
Yeah, it's true.
All those guys were amazing. And so I was playing a lot of R&B bands, and then I went to Europe, and I started to play in Europe with a guy named Ronnie Jones in Italy, and he had a horn section, and this guy Lloyd, who was one tenor saxophone player, turned around to me and said, you ever heard of Alvin Jones? No. You ever heard of Max Roach? No. You ever heard of Art Blakey? No. And he started to introduce me to these guys that just swung so hard, and somehow it wasn't the kind of music that I was listening to, but it had something to do with it, Yeah. And the way that they played songs, the way they interpreted songs, the way that they swung so hard when they played things, that caught my ear, and I really liked that. So I sort of put that a little bit in there with the R&B stuff that I was doing, and so that went along, and then I found myself around the age of 22 in Paris with some friends, hanging out in Paris with some friends. I lived in the south of France, but I would go up to Paris and visit Andre, a great drummer in Paris, a friend of mine called Andre Ciccarelli. I'd replaced him in his band, and I used to go and see him up there every once in a while. And he had a guy that played in his band named Henri Giordano, who was a keyboard player, crazy pianist, just crazy man with the stuff he used to play. And he said, have you ever heard this album, Charles Lloyd, Live in Russia? No, I haven't. He said, you got to check this out, and we sat and listened all night in his apartment and listened to that album with Jack DeJohnette, Keith Jarrett, and Ron McClure was the bass player on that Charles Lloyd quartet. I know it used to be the Charles Lloyd quartet was Cecil McVie, but for some reason he wasn't there for that. in Russia, and there again, not really the kind of music that I played, but the way that they listened to each other, the way that DeJohnette was as quick on his feet. Somebody would play something, and he would hear it and could point you right at it. You know, he just had a way of being able to point you right at it whilst holding everything together, and it just was. He could really. His ears, his listening ability was astonishing, and so that made me a Jack DeJohnette fan, and Jack became my favorite drummer, and still is my favorite drummer today.
So it has been a tremendous honor making this interview and meeting you, because you're one of my idols on the drums.
Oh, thank you, thank you. You have to excuse my place is a mess at the moment. I've been really busy, and I haven't had a chance to clean it up. I got another drum kit there that I got to take back to my other storage. I got these speakers. I just got some new speakers that are fantastic, okay. And so my old speakers are there. I got a box full. I don't know what in here. Yeah.
Okay, Steve.
But, it's nice.
It has been a pleasure meeting you.
It's been very nice meeting you too. I love Argentina. I went there with Eric Clapton, and we had a wonderful time. We played one of the memorable gigs that we did. You want to talk about memorable shows? Was the River Plate?
Yeah,
that was an exceptional. That was a really memorable show that we did there. I love that.